Greetings and welcome to The Thirsty Mage, the podcast wrapping a bow on the year that's been 2024. Welcome to the podcast, I'm David Lloyd, and we have an exciting show this week as we're here to talk about all of the noteworthy games of 2024. A lot of good, a few not so great, and everything in between will be discussed as we go through our interesting experiences of the year. Joining us for this episode, ready to embark on a spiritual journey to the Mecca of video games, it's Paige Chamberlain.
It took me a second to realize what that meant, but yeah. What we can do, and we can do an entire episode about my trip. I'm going to be going to lots of video game related places, so that'll be good.
Yeah, you'll. So I'm assuming you're taking like just one suitcase that's completely empty, and you're just gonna
one suitcase filled with the two other suitcases.
Either that, or you could pick up like a Kirby backpack or something, and just fill it up with a bunch of.
There's some Pokemon suitcases at Don Quixote at the moment, so.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm sure there'll be no shortage of those Pokemon related stuff.
I'm paying for that kid's seat. That means I get to bring another bit of luggage back.
There you go. You gotta take full advantage of.
And I have to buy everyone's Christmas presents while I'm there, so that's a whole other thing.
Oh, getting it all done in one shot, eh? Yeah, it's good. It's exciting. It's I've always wanted to go to Japan. I'm on the literal opposite side of the world, so a little bit tougher for here up in the Great White North. But I guess it's still probably a good 8-ish hour flight for you.
10 hours from the capital city I'm going to first. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's exciting. How long are you gonna be there?
10 full days. Yeah.
Holy moly, that's good. That sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah. It's funny. I've been watching on YouTube a lot of people who are like testing out all the different vending machines in Japan.
Yeah.
Always getting a good laugh out of those ones. I don't know. I think the craziest thing I saw them get was bee larva in a can.
Yeah, I don't want that.
No. No, stay away from that one. It was in a park somewhere, but no, it's it sounds exciting. Always wanted to go. Maybe one day, but I'm happy to hear about it. Hopefully, you'll keep a journal or keep a lot of notes so that you'll be able to tell us all about when you get back.
Yes, I'll there'll be plenty of things to to chat about. So I'll do it after I've actually been, rather than talking about where I'm gonna because then I can actually speak about it properly, like I've actually done it and experienced it.
Cool. And joining us shortly, not on the call yet, but he's going to sneak in any moment now, is the Ying to Your Yang, whether it's in regards to Octopath Traveler or metaphor impressions. It's Jordan Rudek. We can't have a year in review episode without Jordan, who always seems to be, we have a lot in common, I guess, with a lot of games. Square Enix games mostly. We're
no. So what he's saying is he needs to stop being a reviewer because he's clearly not objective enough. And all reviews have to be objective, as we all know, based on YouTube comments.
Oh yeah, I'm sure Jordan's had his fill of YouTube comments this year. I'm sure.
Yeah. After his Aiden one, anyway.
Yeah. Oh, it's funny. Like I've been giving him a hard time lately with metaphor, and I will point out that in previous episodes, whenever we give Jordan a hard time, it's all in good fun. We're not criticizing
don't actually
his.
Like him at all.
Yeah, we're not really criticizing his bad taste in video games.
We're criticizing him as a person.
That's right. No, it's all art. You like what you like. I'm sure we've all got.
And if you like bad things, you're wrong.
Yeah,
feel ashamed of yourself.
Yeah, I just usually try to keep my bad opinions to myself. I guess keep them secret so I can't be savagely mocked for them. That's the way to go about it. But there's I know there's gonna be a few games this year that we were on opposite sides of the fence of, and but yeah, I guess it's been a different year. To me, I guess for me, I guess the year peaked early. It'd be no surprise to anyone with the way we covered Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was easily my favorite game of the year, and so things started off great, and it's kind of gone downhill for me, I guess would be kind of my summary of the year. I don't know if you had a similar experience,
Oh
Paige.
no, I had a bad start to the year, so
Yeah.
yeah.
So you're ending on a high note.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that I haven't actually really played any of the latest 4 RPGs that have come out.
Well, that's the thing that I found is like at the end of the year, like ever since I'm trying to think of like Persona 3 Reload was the last. Well, I mean, I finished Metaphor, but to me, like that was more in spite of the game as opposed
Yeah.
to actually wanting to finish it. The last game I remember wanting to finish was Persona 3 Reload. I don't think it actually came out this year. Technically, I'm pretty sure it came out last year, and then I just played it this year. Is the way that went, but.
Well, we can. Well, I mean, we'll talk about Metaphor a little bit here, but we can still, if Jordan finishes it, then I'll finish it, and then we can do an entire argumentative cast.
The episode will be called Metaphor, the debate.
Deserve any of the awards it got this year?
Oh man,
That's not.
Definitely not narrative. I laughed out loud when I saw that. I'm like, this is a cruel joke. Like I don't know what it feels like. I'm in like Bizarro World. That Metaphor won best narrative is just insane to me. But someone liked the writing apparently.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, my year started off with I reviewed Eastward Octopia, and that was a bit disappointing. I just found it to be quite mid. It was like a standalone, but not standalone, like you have to actually own the base game. But it was a DLC that you don't have to, like, it's not in the main game, it's a separate option in the menu. It's like a what if the world was different kind of scenario with ancient characters, but like a little farming sim. And there just wasn't like enough to it, I think. It was quite basic and small, and it was over quite quickly. And then for some reason, stuff that wasn't really explained in the main story just got like lore dumped on here. So even though it's supposed to be cozy and like anyone can play it, if you like play this first, it totally ruins the main story.
Mm-hmm.
And I also annoyed because I've like pre-ordered some fancy edition of like the soundtrack and some stuff, and they haven't even started producing it yet. And I'm like, I don't even want it. I should see if I can cancel it.
Yeah.
And then I had to play Bandle Tale, which really funnily, like the email I got was like, oh, this game's gonna take, where are we, 40 to 60 hours to complete, and I don't know where they got that number from. Thankfully, I beat it in about, let's see, I have 19 hours on it, and that was like I did a couple extra things. There are literally only 2 achievements I don't have. I know which would take an hour maybe of actual, you know what I mean? You could, and then unless complete the skill tree. Completing the skill tree might add an extra 10 hours. Like, still, that's not even 40.
Yeah.
I'm glad it didn't take that long. It's another cozy game with like just no substance really. Like maybe if I played it when I was 13, I'd like it or something. But it was very basic. Like there's one achievement for failing the parties, which is like one of the main progress things. I don't have that achievement because I didn't lose a single time. It's like very slow. It was just so meh. It was so whatever. And I felt like it was just like a pain to get through. And I was so glad it wasn't that long. And then I went on to, and then another mid game, another Code Recollection. I thought the first one was like, I was like, that's not that good, and everyone's saying it was so good. I'm just like, that was like kind of mid average, like whatever. Maybe the second one will be better because it's the 2 games. The second one was worse. I hated it, and apparently the ending's even better than the original one. Like they fixed it, I'm like, what the hell was the first one? I'm like, oh yeah, they didn't even have closure for some of it. I'm like, what? And that's the one where, like, that's definitely one where, like, yeah, if I played it when I was like at the age, like when it originally came out, I would have been the right age for it because, like, I would have related to the main character more with their daddy issues and just, not worried about the quality of the game as much.
Yeah.
Because, like, the kind of games I played back then. But now I traded it in recently, actually. The cover's really nice, yeah. But it's just like, no, I'm not going to play again. It's not that good. This year has taught me that I just can't believe anybody if they say a story in a game is good, or like if a game's good. I can't trust anybody.
Yeah. This sounds like my cue to jump in on that note.
Yeah, that's like me with reviews this year. I've been burned too many times this year with best game ever.
So it's my year started off pretty rough, and then I think I did Legend of Legacy. That was just like, it was like okay, but then I just hit some spikes where I didn't really enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, because we're not going through it the way that you listed it, so I don't know if you want to go to that format now or if I just keep going.
Well, I will point out Jordan joined us at the perfect time because he came in right after we just finished trouncing him.
Not strategic at all. Not trying to dodge some bullets or something like that.
Yeah, I definitely didn't stop. Didn't stop throwing insults your way when I saw you cutting and pasting the Zencastr link. Definitely didn't stop at that moment when I saw.
So Jordan, when you look in the mirror, how many stinky lines do you see?
None. I'm fresh as a daisy over here, just like the fresh review scores of Metaphor. Cut fresh off of what 3 or 4 Game Awards wins yesterday.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, you missed that the Paige and I talk about how undeserved those rewards were.
It's funny. Like I am surprised. I guess I find myself in the majority in this one, which isn't always the case. But I am surprised by the two of you both not liking it so strongly. Like I understand being a little bit turned off.
We felt like it had a really high start and then drop.
That's where my hatred is. The reason I'm so visceral. Yeah, I'm so visceral about it because it was like I was teased with a good game for 20 hours, and then then it was like a practical joke, like, oh, you thought you were playing a great game. Well, here now you got to play another 20 hours of this crap.
So it wasn't. It was a story beat or a moment in the game for you, or was it a particular dungeon, a particular area of the map?
When you got to that like island one, I felt a bit like, oh, I don't really want to play this for a bit. Gave it a couple of days off, and then started going through it again. But it was just so it sort of hit the fatigue of it.
Yeah.
That's
but the main thing is, I just find that a lot of people are asking the story so much, and then I found that a lot of things were very predictable, and the couple things that weren't predictable ended up being like foreshadowed moments before they happened. So I was like, oh, I wasn't super surprised.
I don't expect like the world from Atlas. I think they're better at characters than they are at stories. Honestly, I think their stories are kind of pedestrian, but
the characters are pretty underdeveloped in this game too, though.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. I feel like where I am now, they're kind of rushing to get a few of them in here. But I do like the ones who we've had for a while. Actually, I think their storylines when you develop the bonds all the way through are a lot more compelling. Like I think Strolls is pretty good. Heismaze is compelling too.
Do you have all the party members now?
If Basilio is the last one, then yes.
Yeah. I can't believe how late you get Basilio.
It is funny, yeah.
Like the game's almost over, and it's like, oh, here's one more party member. Oh, and by the way, nothing's unlocked. So good luck trying to get their full job class, because like not only like, and what pissed me off with that one too is that so like you had to go through the brawler, like all of the brawler levels, but then you also had to go do like, I think you had to go do the gunner or something to get to the final. Like it was just like,
oh, that for him,
like, come on, like you give me this character at the very end of the game and with no way of getting him to his final form. Like, come on.
And then there's...
I would say up until the ice dragon with Rella, I didn't have a lot of trouble with these bosses though. Like that one was tricky. I had to kind of figure out my party,
but then I dropped
different
the
items.
Game to normal difficulty after that first big boss at the end of that first big dungeon, where I was like, and it was like so crazy the difference between the damage I was actually dealing. I didn't bring it back up.
I don't know. Maybe I think I might have, and maybe I stumbled into a good strategy of when your hero levels up, I only put points into magic. He has like 60 magic or something right now, and the magic hits so strong. I don't know. I'm sure physical can work in this game too, but I find like mage ability is just super powerful. And some of the mage synthesis with him and Stroll, I'm hitting for like 1,500 to 2,200 damage sometimes. Like it's kind of silly. I may have stumbled into some game breaking kind of combinations,
but find anything too hard except for like this optional stuff towards the end of the game that I decided, I'm not going to do this. And then David decided
I think that's exactly where I am.
The reward was not worth it, I think. So.
Well, and it's funny because
I kind of want to see how many classes I can master at this point.
Yeah, I think it's just one of my goals. Even the game's not as long as like Persona or whatever, I felt like I've just had that. I've had enough, and the story in that has disappointed me so far that I haven't been bothered to do the last end point of the game. Like I level people up and and then I've just there's various points where I've had the wind knocked out of my sail. And then I don't feel like is it worth putting an extra 10, 20 hours into?
I don't even see how the game is 100 hours. Like I'm at like 35, 32.
There's
like
not
40, 50, like 40.
Yeah, it's 40, 50, right? That's what it seems like to me. Like I don't know where like 80 to 100 came from. Like I literally I've done everything.
Yeah,
I think
it's
I don't know how you even get that far.
The only reason I can think some people are slow readers or whatever, but also like
maybe
it's to unlock everything, or not even to unlock everything. It's you need another 40 hours to unlock. You need it to unlock the archetypes because like you can get maybe like half of the archetypes for every character, but you got to put in a ton of time after that. It's nuts.
Yeah. And
the thing the archetypes is, to me, that's like what sells the game. Like if I was going to sell someone on playing it, it's like, well, it's the combat system and the mixing and matching of the archetypes or whatever, and each character has like a final form or the royal or job class or whatever. And so I got everyone to that job class, maxed it out, only to learn that that's like one of the worst mixing and matching of archetypes, because like they have little to no synthesis attacks when they're all in the royal. And it's like, why would you have the clear, like, this is the final form, the best form of the character, and then they have no chemistry together whatsoever?
That is funny. I will say that I try not to rely on synthesis attacks just because they do take up 2 of your turns, right? It can be a dangerous gamble. Like I might use them at the end of a battle if I feel like I'm close to winning.
I think they feel like
I'll just kind of push through with some of those, but
just dangerous enemies, really.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're better off just 2 single attacks
down or whatever, or just different strategies you're using. I was just, it's not like I didn't like what I was playing for quite a while. Obviously, like I said, I had such a strong start, but it's now just like I don't think the payoff in the story is going to be worth going through some more dungeons when I've already done so much of the side little dungeons.
I might do a New Game Plus right after.
Yeah, you might.
I love it so much. I think it's really good. I really still like the combat. I know obviously it hasn't been that long since we chatted, but
then when I come back from my holiday, I finish it and we can do a whole spoiler cast talk about it, and then we can yell about it a bit more.
Yes.
The episode
the
episode will be called Metaphor, the greatest Rickroll.
No, it's good. It's really good.
But
go on. I didn't mean to come in and derail everything.
This episode can't be 60 minutes of bashing Metaphor, defending Metaphor. So
loving Metaphor, right? Metaphor,
because we all know there was much better games made this year, so we should talk about them. So. Yeah, that's fair too. There was definitely some worse games. How about you, Jordan? What was a big surprise or a big disappointment for you?
Oh, I think you probably know what my big disappointment was, and that's Aiden
You're
Chronicle was
wrong, but,
probably my biggest one.
but
Yeah, so
We're
again,
moving on from one controversial game to the next.
the irony of just again more divisiveness in
I
the
know.
RPGs, right? This is going to happen if you're going to have 25 to 30 playable, games that people are interested in in the RPG space this year. You're going to have like these swings of like people love it, people hate it, people in the middle. You're just going to
I
have it. You're
still
going to have
think
the
it's
whole
really
gamut.
funny though that one of the problems you had was because of like a glitch, like that was really worse on the Switch because it was like the encounter rate was tied to
So
the refresh
terrible.
rate or something like
Frame rate.
frame rate,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like
something
so
like
the
that.
worse it was, the more random encounters you got. So people on
I think they
PC.
probably
People on PC were literally like, "Where the hell are the random encounters?" I'm like so underleveled,
yeah.
and then you're just like screaming for help, like in a pool.
George must have thought he picked up one of the cursed items from Dragon Quest 3 when.
Hey, at least I know to get rid of those. Okay, I know how to clean them, or I know how to take them off your body to go to the priest. It's easy. But the problem with Aiden Chronicle was just that I think they just bit off more than they could chew, right? And this happens with Kickstarter games, especially. Your eyes become bigger, like big like saucers, and you kind of want to do all these things for all these groups and make everybody happy. But you have like a limited team, you have a limited budget. In particular, you're at the behest of all these people who have kickstarted you. I think you really just have to kind of scale it down and not try to be so ambitious with it.
Even when I was talking about it to sort of defend it against, like, you weren't there at the time for me to like directly talk with you, I still ended up talking shit about like the mini games totally suck and were busted and they were so nothing and things like that.
I feel like that any time that I came on here to talk about it, maybe we just did the one episode. There were so many little things I didn't think about to say that I didn't like about the game, like the kind of the one-on-one duels that happen.
Yeah,
they're
those
very
were
anticlimactic
weird because it was like it's tied to what they say, kind of.
Yeah. And then the big kind of tied into that is those big strategy battles, which are also kind of lame.
Yeah,
like you see things happening, but who knows how they actually work?
Yeah, and then I don't have the frame of reference of actually playing Suikoden to compare, but as someone who didn't play them, I'm like, yeah, this extra stuff is so whatever. Those strategy, like, it's actually really hard to lose those. The first few you can just straight up lose them. It doesn't matter.
I think I did lose one or two of those, and then like came back in and won it pretty handily. But I'm like, what?
They're also really like few and far between, so that doesn't help. And then I didn't get the good ending because there's like one of the missable characters is like you need to talk to Marissa when she's in one very specific part of the castle, and she only is at that point at like between a couple chapters. So like
I'll give it this. I think it was a hard game to review within a particular window, right? And maybe one I would have liked better had I not had that kind of structure of like trying to finish it within a review embargo timing, right? Like, let's say I've got like a month or 2 months where I can kind of go through it more casually, and then I'm not kind of up against a deadline. I could maybe explore more and maybe just have a better impression of it. But within that window, playing it before any launch day or day one patches come out or any post-game support or post-launch support, like stuff that maybe would have helped the Switch version in particular, just wasn't a very good experience. And again, playing it on the Switch, not ideal, but probably would have had a better experience on PS5 or PC or something like that. But you play the hand you're dealt.
Yeah.
And I've reviewed that version that I had time with. So the Switch version just did not hit for me, and it was one that I had been looking forward to for sure.
And see that was actually one of the first games I played after I quit reviewing games because I had just finished a game that was so. I finished playing Broken Roads, which was still very broken even after the massive delay. And
they gave it away in the title page. You should have known better.
Well, I previewed it at like PAX that last year, and there was like some minor glitches I didn't even mention in the preview because they were really silly. Like my character sat down in a chair, but there was no chair. Like they did animation.
Obviously, they're going to fix this, right?
And then it was supposed to release in November. I got it a couple of weeks before it came out. And oh my god, it was so bad. It was the glitches I was experiencing were so many. And they're like, all right, we're delaying this because we didn't realize how many glitches there were, and they delayed it, and there was still more glitches. There was still more. And they've been doing patches, but they've even announced months after it's come out that they're hiring writers to like fix the story. and it's like,
yeah.
But yeah, basically I was reviewing it and I couldn't. It's like, you know, you've got a few ways you can get into this last bit of the game, which was really short. I thought it was going to be... Anyway, and I couldn't do the way I wanted it to. It just wasn't working. Yeah. And I waited for one of the patches. No, that didn't fix it. And then my review got so delayed that like another patch had come out, and like that's when my review came. So I felt like it was pointless to even have my review up at that point.
Yeah, that's frustrating for sure.
But so they have been fixing things, but to me, I don't know if what's there is worth even fixing. Like it was, the writing was like whatever. Like it was just like the way it ended, and everything was so abrupt, and even though that boss fight glitched and things like that.
Hoping for a cyberpunk resurgence or something.
It looks like what they're doing, but I don't know if it's going to be worth the effort. The only thing worth it to me is that it was like set in Australia, and there's very few games properly set in Australia, and they were talking like that, and the art style is really cool with that. Like it kind of looks like the like paintings and stuff you might see of the outback.
That's cool.
But otherwise, and you see now some of the fixes they're doing, it's gonna like you can't choose through the game as easy now because they're like so it was just that's my biggest disappointment of the year. And then I was just like, after I had played that Band of Tale, things like that, I'm like, why am I doing this? Like these, thankfully all these really disappointing games weren't too long, because that's a much worse thing. But I was like, when I don't have to do this if so I
think a big surprise, like just in terms of like not even like disappointment necessarily, or you know, a pleasant surprise or something, just a surprise to me was the ability to play through so many games, or at least experience a bunch of these games. Like, you know, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, you know, Dragon's Dogma 2, Persona 3 Reload, played a little bit of that. Unicorn Overlord, obviously reviewed that. Veilguard, which kind of came out of nowhere, still had a chance to go through it. Just, I guess, trying to make time for a lot of games. I did miss out on some things. I didn't play Shadow of the Erdtree. I would have liked to have played that. Fantasian, I only tried that demo at PAX. I would like to at some point, experience more of that game. Star Wars Outlaws, I did want to try. I still do. Hopefully, be able to get it on a pretty steep discount next year, which will be nice.
Next year,
if there's a lull next year, right?
I was gonna say it's been out for a couple of weeks. Isn't it 50% off yet? I just assumed.
Yeah, hey, come on. I'm looking for like $10 or $15.
The Ubisoft throw it on Game Pass.
Oh yeah.
Where's the Game Pass? Star Wars Outlaws, right? Yeah. Visions of Mana is a game I didn't get to play. I still would like to at some point.
Me too. Visions of Mana is nice. It's just like it's, I guess, like someone said, like comfort JRPG, like nothing in the story is surprising, or like it's not fantastic, but it's not bad. It's just
on
okay.
My Christmas list.
I mean, we had some of these like comfort food JRPGs, so right? Like we had Dragon Quest III HD 2D, also kind of like a very pretty JRPG comfort food. Visions of Mana. I think even Romantic Saga 2 to me feels a lot like comfort food, just compared to like traditional typical saga experiences. This one leans a lot more towards just being player friendly, being more accessible, so it does have more of those kind of comfort food qualities in my mind. Big positive surprise though, I give it to something like Unicorn Overlord. I know we do expect a lot from Vanillaware on the art side for sure, but that gameplay is just really, really captivating. And although I think it does overstay its welcome a little bit, I still think that was a really in the first half of the year in particular, was a really strong experience for me. Played really well, really kind of neat progression systems there, tons of classes to unlock. And that was a one that I think I was going to like. I remember playing the demo or hearing positive buzz about the demo, but didn't really sink my teeth into it until we got a code for it. And then I couldn't put it down for a while. So Unicorn Overlord was one that I know some folks in our Discord really liked that one too. And that was a big highlight of the first half of the year, at least.
I think my biggest surprise this year might be Thousand Times Resist. I don't think you guys played that one.
No.
But...
not yet, no.
Yeah, and I saw that, I don't think it was the Game Awards, but as the Game Awards came out, then there's a lot of sites that were also putting out like lists and awards and that sort of thing. So I saw stuff popping up in social media and was pleasantly surprised to see how many. Like, it was really making a lot of top 10 lists, or even like I think it won best indie on a couple of the bigger sites too. And was just I was just happy, BC developer making a terrific, like, it's just I don't even, it's hard to even describe because it's kind of like it's an experience, I guess, more than anything. But and it's just great. I just know like a few people in the Discord that have started playing it, just like loved it, and I'm just like, oh man, like I'm happy to see when you have this experience, and then it's finding a diamond in the rough, I guess, almost to a certain extent, like this hidden gem, and seeing people enjoy it, and it's getting a lot of the recognition it deserves. So I'm happy for that game, and we'll be curious to see what comes next for that developer. But
I think it's available almost everywhere too, right? Like, it's pretty easy to find that game if you want
I'm pretty
to.
sure it's on, like, I know it's on Switch and Steam for sure.
Wait, choose.
Sorry?
Okay.
1,000 Time Resist.
1,000 Times.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in my head for a second, I thought it was like, there was the game you were talking about beforehand. It was like, I'm like, no, that's not on PC.
No.
Yeah.
Looks like just Steam and Switch, actually.
Yeah, that might be, because I played it on Steam Deck, but I think in the Discord, I believe the people were playing on Switch, and I don't think they ran into it. Like, it's not pushing the limits of the Switch or anything. So I think for the most part,
I'd be surprised if it didn't come to other platforms next year. It'll probably win some Game of the Year, indie kind of Game of the Year stuff by the end of this year. So hopefully that'll give them a chance to put some other places next year too.
Especially with Xbox now is kind of pushing for like more games, and they're trying to become like the Steam of PC now with their Xbox apps.
That's right.
So.
Yeah.
I think a real surprise is Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom, because we didn't know about that until a couple months before it came out.
True.
So it's like both a surprise as like, a nice game, but also like, oh, we didn't. What do you mean?
Have you played that yet, Jordan?
Just a little bit. I haven't played a ton. I do want to play more. I just wasn't in the mood for like a Zelda game at the time, but I think it is a good, fun game.
Yes. Yeah, it was nice. Like, I very much had fun with it, with all the funny little things you can do. I just didn't feel compelled to do the extra little side stuff once I'd actually beaten the main quest, really. So I do feel, I guess slightly disappointed, and there's a few games where it's like, this is like just a bit too short because I don't want to do the other stuff now. But no, it's definitely really fun, and also it's just great that we get to play Zelda, even if she's in that ugly outfit for the first entire half of the game. Although recently I've been playing something where I guess you also make ugly outfits, because I've been playing that in Infinity Nikki, which is a free-to-play gacha game with all that confusing stuff. And like, just like every other fashion game, it's like, in order to progress, you're like, oh, you've got to make this outfit according to the specs. So it's just based on the theme and the level of the stuff. So like, the actual outfit itself is always the most atrocious thing ever. But that's been a fun surprise too. I think we knew about it beforehand. PS5.
Okay.
I don't like to put those gacha games and stuff on my computer because some of them want very heavy permissions, and they're not getting that.
Well, I think it's even in iOS and Android too.
Yeah, so though I saw someone doing the visual comparisons of how much like less stuff there was in the game, like just visual. Yeah. They're looking at 2 pictures and like, what do you mean that's a picture of the same area? And there's just like so much less flowers and stuff. It's funny.
Paige, what would you compare it to? Like, I've seen more people talking about it recently too. Like, what I just don't know exactly what it is. Like, what do you do?
Open world. It's like a fashion game, definitely, but there's also like, it's sort of remind me of Mario Odyssey, because you're collecting these little stars, and some are just there, some you touch, and then you got to do like a timed collect all the little stars across like a certain area, platforming, a little puzzle room thing, almost like a shrine in Breath of the Wild, things like that. When you do little twirl, that reminds me of Mario. And then you've got, just that sort of open world, not too much combat, a little bit. The platforming kind of annoys me a lot, actually. So,
is there any farming sim in it? I thought I saw something about farming sim.
No, you go up to animals and you groom them and you catch bugs and you fish, but there's not.
Oh, okay, and it's free game, right?
Yeah,
Like
it's
I'm
free,
assuming
but
you're paying for like.
make sure your card is locked to a password on your account if you let your kid play it. Because
Yeah, that's
honestly,
you read my mind because I'm like my daughter might like it, but then like I could
because
see
there's like
like the credit
outfits,
card bill.
the gacha where it's like the outfits, but you don't get the whole outfit, you get a piece of the outfit. And
Yeah.
even with my free stuff you're getting, because you're entering codes and when you start one of these new starts, you get a lot of free stuff. Like my pools are so bad, I'm like, I'm not putting money into this. Because there's things you can do where it's like, you pay, $8 a month, and if you log in every single day, you get this many things that's like worth a few pools. But it's like, I'm gonna wait, I'm gonna do that. But like that's the most I'd put into one of these. But like the it's like what you get usually is like, so I'm like, I'm not, you're not getting my money. You can get somebody else's money. I'm gonna free to play this. It's not like it's, some of them will have the abilities, but it's like there's other clothes in this game. I'll live.
But David, think how many stars you could get if you give your daughter your credit card.
Yeah.
Come on.
No, the room stars aren't tied to that, so it's alright.
Oh, no, I used to talk about the PlayStation. I recently discovered I had a whole bunch of PlayStation stars. I don't know if you've ever been in, like when you go in the PlayStation app, I guess there's like, Xbox has something similar where they have like a rewards program.
Yeah, the Microsoft reward points.
Yeah,
It's
like exactly the same thing. I think they just kind of, PlayStation brought it out to compete with it, but I don't really think they're pushing it that hard because like basically the way that you earn them, I guess, is with like playing. Like I saw a bunch of quests or whatever they call it, but it's like, well, just download this PlayStation Plus game and then play it, and then like that gets you the reward or whatever. But
so like how the Switch Online stuff does.
Yeah,
kind of. Yeah,
I guess Casey had found out that a lot of the stars are tied to Fortnite V-Bucks or whatever. So I'm pretty sure my son's Fortnite habit is gotten me a $25 gift certificate to the PlayStation store.
I don't think they have that in my region, but actually that's when I'm thinking about it. It's a good year for girl games because we got Zelda, we got Princess Peach, which I'm slightly higher on than other people. My only real criticism is that it's just too short. You get and like no one likes the detective section. I think not many people liked those parts, but it's just like, it's not quite enough there for it being a full price game. And for me, it's not the pricing so much as I wanted more. Like I was really having fun with some of these abilities. They're like, they start to get a little bit more challenging. It also confused me because like some of it's like, it's pretty easy. It's meant to be for like little girls, but then some parts it's like, well, they're gonna have to ask their mum or dad or somebody to help them because some of this parts want some quick reflexes. Like it's gonna be a bit too hard for. Yeah, it was a bit odd in that respect, but yeah, it's been a good year for games targeted toward girls and having female playable characters. And then for me,
1,000 Times Resist it's only women in that game.
No,
and I can't tell you why.
Can't tell you why. Now you got my attention.
Yeah,
because men smell bats, so he punishes.
It's like
that's exactly why.
It's a future Earth, and there's only women in it.
Oh dear. But I think So in terms of my year, once I stopped reviewing, I played Aiden Chronicles 100 Heroes, and then I played the prequel. Because I just, I liked it enough that I wanted to play the prequel because you met some of the characters as like a little side area. Don't do it that way around because there are tiny little save carry bonuses and they don't work the other way around. So you play the prequel with the funny like animations on the 2D because they're like 2D. It's like a 2D platformer and like the characters sort of look like they're puppets the way they're animated. And I like.
See, that's David and I played that one first, and we were like, "Oh, I don't know if this is setting up our expectations for the actual
I knew
game
what
that's
it
going to
was
come out next year."
I knew it was just a fetch sort of quest thing, so I knew, I had my expectations. I bought it for quite cheap, and it was so
I canceled my pre-order after that game.
And I'd played a bunch of like turn-based sort of stuff, so it's good to get back into something a little bit actiony.
Yeah,
and I beat my first Mario RPG this year. I finished Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door.
Oh,
and then immediately,
I'm glad that's the one you said. That's probably the best one to have be your first one.
And then immediately after that, I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna. We didn't even know about Brothership at that time. I don't think. I was like, all right, I'm not gonna, go straight into some of the other games. I'm gonna wait, and then like 2 days later, 2 days later, I started Paper Mario 64 and I beat that. So.
How would you compare the two, Paige? Because I do kind of want to go back and play that maybe with my son, actually, just to see, give him a taste of like that, which was kind of our first Mario.
When I was talking about it one episode, I honestly potentially like 64 more. It just doesn't have the character development at all with all your little buddies. Like, for example, there's one really weird thing where you can go to the town post office and you get letters where people write to your buddies, but they don't react to the letters. And
there's only so much data on those cartridges, you know.
Yeah. Right. So it's really like, that's so weird. Like I guess I also like it because one of the things I didn't like in Thousand Year Door was some of the weird depth perception platforming with the paper stuff. And they don't have very much of that. The paper in this is not like that whole big gimmick. It's its first time. So there's not too much platforming in this one. You get. It also has playable Peach segments like Thousand Year Door. So I was like, oh, that's a lot of it's kind of like, it's funny to go back to like the game before and be like, oh, how much of it's kind of the same.
Yeah.
And now whenever I play a game and I can't spin around, it upsets me because I can't spin to go faster in some games, and like I can in my Paper Mario 64. I like that so much.
Try Sonic. Sonic's a good game for spinning and going fast.
And I mean, I liked that one so much that I went and got an SC plush of Whacker from it. So yeah, so it's like I had a little period where I was like, oh, I'm going to play, this game, and then I go play like another game in that sort of series immediately afterwards, and I was like, I was doing good progress.
Yeah, that's fun.
And then after that, I had a bunch of games that I got like 10 hours into and dropped, and I do need to go back into, but I'm just stuck at a point where it's like, I want to know the best way forward rather than wasting time. So
that's where I am with Dragon Quest 3.
Well, it's like I explained to you about like where I stopped. Oh, that was more just I put it down for a second, but like, I was playing Jeanne d'Arc, the PSP game that got put on PS5 and stuff. I was playing Monster Hunter Stories, I'm playing SMT Vengeance, and a few of those was like, not Jeanne d'Arc, but like the other two, it was like, I need to counter this specific boss. I don't want to waste too much time pointlessly grinding when it takes too long, instead of just, like I just want to know what's the best way to move
what's the strategy here?
Because, for example, one of them, it's like, oh, it looks like, based on the compendium, oh, I can make these guys, but I have to be a high level to do it. And I can't find them because this guy's clearly blocking the area to where those guys would be based on the fact that they're like that higher level. So it's really like, you're in the way of the guys I need to fight you. Like, stop.
Yeah, I remember that actually from the original game. There was a boss that was like pretty tough, and it was like funny because
it's like sort of a. Okay, not a she for me, but yeah.
Oh, I think there's like a woman in like a temple or something, and it like blocks like it's kind of like the end of the first act or whatever.
No, she wasn't too hard for me. I did have to redo who I had just because like this, like that's how that game works. You gotta like, oh, they're weak to this, I gotta not be weak to this ability at all. But it was like, no, it's just like my main character can survive the fight, but nobody else can, and I need at least one more guy to be able to do the fight because he can't deal enough damage to do it. Because this character's got like a buddy locking him. So there's quite a few where I've put time into the game, or put a lot of time into the game, like Metaphor, and I've put it down. I do not. Well, maybe that one I'll go back to. Like the other two, I want to go back to 3. I want to go back to.
You should go back. You should go back, Paige.
I think
David, where did you get to? Where did you get to in Dragon Quest 3 that you stopped for a bit?
So right now, I'm at the point where the entire world is open to me now because I just got the ship.
Yeah. I know that
and
feeling.
I'm just
like,
the
same thing.
What do I do now? Like, I don't know.
When I was reviewing that mobile port on Switch, I remember having the same feeling of like the world just opened up and I didn't really know where to go because the signposting in those original versions is just not as good as the HD 2D one.
Yeah.
Which does a lot better job of telling you where to go next. If you want that, right? I think you can turn it off. But if you want like a path, go here, talk to this person, whatever, like it's a lot more transparent about that stuff.
Yeah.
So they've obviously recognized, this, game from 1989 or 1988, whatever, like didn't do a very good job of telling people what to do next.
The first thing I did too when I got the boat was I went to... I don't know if it's a shrine or a temple where the guy is that gives you the class upgrade. And so I went in and the guy's like, you're not a professional yet. Get out of here. And I'm like, oh, come on. It was like, and then, so that's basically where my last save is at, is like this guy chirping me. Cause I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, and again, it's like one of those things where it's like, well, I might end up getting the game over Christmas. So do I just leave it for now and see if I get it? Or
it's almost good that you've had that taste of one of the original versions, I think, and it should give you that appreciation for all the changes that have come in for this modern one. I wouldn't say like finishing that Game Boy Color version, especially if you're going to play it again anyways, right? Like, it is totally necessary. You've got a good taste of what that game was like back then.
Yeah. So I can't even remember. I've had a few games like that this year where it's like, get to a certain point and then it's like, oh, do I want to continue like investing time in this game where I'm like just kind of having fun but not exactly.
And it's so much harder now because there's so many options. You can just put that down and be like, oh, I'll pick up the next one, which is right there, right? Whether it's Game Pass or, I don't know if anyone is still subscribed to the PlayStation service. I dropped it, but if you still had it,
I have to because my son is a big multiplayer on PlayStation. Of course.
So you wonder if you're getting stars from that too. Maybe that subscription or something like that.
Yeah,
right.
Because that's the thing is like I have to have it for the multiplayer because like all his buddies are on it, and then so I'm looking at it, I'm like, you know what? It's only a few extra bucks for the essential, like the next package up.
I know that's how they get you.
That is
David.
how they get you. So I'm stuck. I can't. There's nothing I can do. Like I'm just gonna be out.
Are you listening, Sony? You've got them. Hook, line, and sinker. You can jack the prices up again.
Got me by the short and curlies.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I'll give another pleasant surprise because I'm looking at this list of games here, and it's a pleasant surprise right now, but it's also one that I know I'm gonna get back to because of what's waiting for me. And that's Dragon's Dogma 2, which I brought up earlier, and we did a couple episodes on it, I believe, like just mentioning some impressions of it. And me being fairly positive on it, even though there's definitely an obtuseness to that game, not knowing exactly where to go, what to do, and the fact that there's no real fast travel outside of like some items that can help you do it. You can just ride the cart from one city to the next, but everything is slow, right? It's just a slow, methodical kind of game. But I've gotten to the point with that game where what's waiting for me is this second world where everything has gone to hell and the bad guys have won basically, and now you got to you can kind of, my understanding is you kind of just replay the game in a way from in this new world, as if a world of ruin from Final Fantasy VI or something like that. So I'm eager to go back to that game just to see what this content is, because my understanding is that not everyone got there, but the people that did kind of roll credits and then re-enter this world or make the choice or decision to unlock it really, really find a good experience there, really maybe a departure from what the game was before, kind of like the real game inside the game kind of thing. So I am looking forward to Dragon's Dogma 2 getting back to that. And it definitely wasn't one of those games that I was like looking forward to and like I know I'm definitely going to play it. It was more like on a whim that I found something pretty interesting, pretty compelling, and very different from a lot of the other games that did come out this year that were a little bit more modern or trying to be super player friendly. This game is more like, nope, we're going to be like Dragon's Dogma 1, which Dave and I played a little bit of, and we both kind of bounced off of it for similar reasons.
Well, and this one is 43% off now.
Come on, like I think it is. I think it is worth a shot if you're willing to just invest in what it's selling, which again I don't think is easy. But I think if you push through, there are just some really cool things that can happen in this game. The randomness of it, the kind of just walking along and you don't know what's going to happen next.
Watching clips of people's like pawns talking smack to them about like only having men in their party or only having women in their party, and
the pawns are great. They're definitely an upgrade over the ones from the previous game for sure.
Oh yeah, Capcom has there's a big Capcom sale, the Game Awards Capcom sale.
The Game Awards, that's
so
right.
There's like an 87%. So Dragon Dogma 2 specifically is 43%, but I guess that it's up to 87% on other Capcom games.
Nice. Yeah, I saw Akami had a pretty big deal after they announced that sequel. I think it was like 75% off. That's a game I want to play at some point too.
Yeah. The Mega Man Legacy collections are like 80% off right now. Holy moly.
I mean, shit, that it's a must. I have all of them, but they're must buys at that price. For how many games you get?
RE4 remake's only $25 right now.
I also this year played through a couple trilogies. One was the Famicom Detective Club, which I wasn't so hot on, That was another one where
What was the best one of the three, Paige?
I
You played all three? Which was
the first one, even though it was the worst one to play. I liked the story better.
Yeah, I've had them on my wish list. I do want to play those. If they go on sale, I probably would buy them, but never seem to.
It's published by Nintendo, so don't hold your breath.
I know I haven't been.
But I remember when it came to the new one, the guy was like, "Oh, the ending's a bit controversial, so people might not like it." And then after I played, I'm like, "Yeah, it's yeah."
Oh, he was right.
But yeah, so many people are praising it, and I'm just like, "What? And then I find 2 or 3 people, one person wrote an article. I'm like, okay, at least I'm not the only person on earth who doesn't think that this was good.
No, geez, I think Xander. I think it was Xander. Kind of came back to write a review of the game, and he absolutely panned that Emio game.
Good.
So,
yeah,
not a fan.
But I did like the Cat Quest trilogy. I played all of that. I played the first one by myself because it's no co-op in that one. And then that's just a basic little top-down just top-down action game, a little RPG. You do little side quests, you get better armor, just that sort of thing. You go into little mini caves, and they're like tiny little mini dungeons. You have some boss fights. They've got like the AoE markers on the ground, except for the newest game where they don't. But they've changed the enemies like attack patterns, I guess, like the way they show it. So yeah. And that was very cute, like the very cute short little games, little funny writing. And then the second one is co-op. You don't have to co-op it, but like the story is about like cats versus dogs sort of thing. So even if you don't play it in co-op, you have a little second guy with you, following you the whole time. And then, so I played that one co-op with my husband, and then I played the newest one when it came out with my husband because we finished them just before 3 came out. And this one is all pirate themed because there's a lot of nautical themed games this year. Actually, there was like SteamWorld Heist 2. There was Brothership, East 10. Yeah, at least those 4, if not plenty more. And this one, and then it was really just fun little thing. They sort of fixed some of the things that really pissed us off about co-op in that second game where you both had to be close enough to the NPC to actually start talking to the NPC, things like that. And it had little boat segments where you control. So I just but it was like whoever was moving was controlling. So I just didn't touch it and let him handle that. It was just more of that, the same sort of just really fun, short games, cute, nice writing. I think they've recently done updates that's a bit more. So those ones are kind of worth getting, I guess, a bit after they come out because they add more stuff. And one of them, it was a bunch of the stuff we're doing. I was like, what do you mean this was update stuff? I couldn't imagine the world map without all this stuff on it. It would feel so empty and weird. It was part of some big update. So I'm glad I didn't play the second one until it had been out for a while. Gee. But yeah, those are just fun little games. It's good if you want something to play 2-player.
Did anyone play Sandland? Because I see that on the list, and I remember being somewhat interested, but never played it.
I played the demo, and then I was just waiting for it to be on enough of a sale, but I don't think it will ever be the amount of money I want to pay for it. So.
No, I forgot about it. I remember when the trailer came out, and I was like, "Oh," because that's like a Toriyama game, right?
Yeah, it's got that art style that's so distinctive, and I'm like, "Oh, I do want to try that." I should at least give the demo a try.
The demo is pretty it's just here's here you go, here's some of your stuff, and go do combat, but you can't progress anything. It's just odd.
Yeah, 71 on Metacritic, so yeah, kind of middling for sure. But I do want to try it at least.
Yeah, one of my favorite things this year was actually a little RPG Maker game called Felvedek. It's only on PC.
The Drunken Slavic game.
Yes, the Drunken Slavic game. It's just another, short game, really funny, just, speaking in old timey, and there's a lot of you can just do what you want and experience. There's a lot of extra stuff. I didn't find it, but there's the secret area you can go to, and it's the default RPG Maker assets, and they're all oh god, what is this hideous abomination before us? Or I could keep throwing a coin in a well, and then I kept doing it, and then eventually something happened, and it was they wanted something else, so I just killed them, and I got something from sweet, just those little things of player, I guess, agency and different things you can find and do. I left out my Steam review was that pouring one out for the homies revives them, because and the animation is really cool. It's like the battle animations is like, I guess, rotoscoped or something with the drawing or the filter on. So it's like the arms are in front of you and they're doing stuff. So like you're just like opening the cork of a bottle and then pouring it on the ground, and then that's reviving. And the way it looks is really cool. It's also just, and has some really funky music too. Like when you look at that game, and then you look at the battle music, and you're like, you probably don't think that that's what it was going to sound like. I wouldn't say. I'll try to link it for you guys so you can have a listen to it. But it's like it's more groovy, I guess, is how I would describe it. Than you. It was just like a real pleasant surprise. I guess I sort of regret not putting the review for that out like on the actual RPG site. So sometimes we can like show off those other games when we have time to play them. But I did really enjoy it, and that's sort of one of my highlights for the year. So when it came to all the Steam voting, I was just picking that, even though it's not going to get many of them. Like best music, yes. Best story, yes. Best like, So if you like those little RPGs, I definitely would recommend playing it for a quick little go. And then you can go back and try to do some things differently as well.
Is this it?
Yeah. Like you wouldn't expect that when you're looking at the visual there, would you?
No, because it's like like medieval Europe. And this is like set 60s. 60s groove.
It's really, it's really emphasizing like the style, it's got all of that.
Cool.
And I guess that was a surprise, because I didn't hear I guess it's going to be one of the things, like, of me not being in that, like, talking to those people as much as I'm going to hear about some of these games now.
Yeah.
And especially these indies, like, they just kind of come out of nowhere. Usually it's like word of mouth that gets the ball rolling.
You get swallowed up by the news cycle of all the big games that are coming out, which, again, in the RPG space, there were just so many. Like every month had banger after banger, or at least, if not ending up being a banger, it certainly had the hype cycle or hype train around it of just so much conversation and stuff like that would drown out anything else. So it was hard to find maybe some of those the indie darlings a little bit to kind of really dig a bit more.
Well, why don't we reveal our top 3? Now, you don't have to rank them if you don't want to rank them, but why don't we give 3 games that we would say round out the gold, silver, and bronze of this year?
Yeah. Do you want to go? You want to start with? We'll do one each. We'll go round table kind of style.
Sure. Yeah, that works.
Okay. Yeah. I'll go first then. I have to keep this game there. I'm not sure if it's going to be my number one at the end. Like I think this list is still fluid for me for sure. But Romancing Saga 2, it has restored my faith in Saga, and I think it'll be a gateway to a lot of people finding this series or these types of games. And I really hope that it does well enough to see more remakes in this style, because it's just a fantastic iteration of what Saga can be. So it's easily in my top 3. I still think about it. I still kind of think about going back to it and 100%ing it or whatever. I haven't yet, or just starting it from the beginning and seeing what happens. Like I feel like there's a lot of variability in terms of how you actually play the game, what classes and skills and stuff you unlock and when, and even just picking up classes and events that I probably didn't see the first time through. So yeah, that's easily a top 3 for me.
Well, Square really has to release another Saga game quick before people start playing old Saga games and then realize that
I'll start playing the other one they released this year.
Yeah, like that's
true.
That's how Saga 2 should end. Is they should say, "Don't play any of the old games. We'll give you a new one. Just don't worry."
Yeah, just wait. Patience. Just preach patience here. They'll eventually come back. Yeah.
How about you, Paige? What's one of your top three?
Number 3, or just doesn't matter?
Sure. Yeah. No, let's go with number 3.
I'll go with. I don't know whether to rank. Yeah, will I rank Fovedeck above one or the other? I'll make it lower just because it's, like a little RPG. I guess we'll let the AAA games go above it, I guess. I only have a few screenshots I took, but the example of the dialogue I've got is the bit where the main character's problem is that his wife has left him, and he's talking to this monk guy, and he's like, "I thank you kindly for relieving me of my sadness over my wife so swiftly. I immediately feel renewed, truly. If only I had known that a simple prayer would suffice. Clearly, in your celibacy, you know naught of trials that accompany wedlock." And he's just telling him off, and he's always smiling, and he's freaking smile. Or there's the way things are written when you pick up an item, it's sour cream now belongs to us. And I've got this great one where it's I found a funny and an odd picture, and they're looking at it, and it's the main character's by the saints, I don't pronounce the friend's name, so it's Matej. It's so I don't know if I pronounce J or not, but Matej, 'tis remarkably lifelike, mighty render me thus someday. And then someone else commented the item description said something like, "This is no sight for a rightful Christian," because it's a picture of two men wrestling, but I think that it might be implying something else was about to happen.
Yeah, wrestling in quotation marks.
Or a really awkward hug, I guess. It's just not really that greatly well drawn, and there's a few bits where a very few short cutscenes are sort of PS1 graphics looking. I was whoa. But yeah, definitely really stands out for humor. Just having that sort of player choice of finding things or making decisions, and that visual and audio style, really,
pretty cheap too. It's only 14 Canadian.
Yeah, you wouldn't expect it to be.
That is cheap.
You probably wouldn't. There's a few RPG Maker games that you look at and you probably wouldn't actually realize that they've been made in one of those programs, even though the controls are sort of like that. You'd be by those looks, you probably wouldn't. You'd be what? No way. So that's probably number 3. I'll let the high budget games go above it. But...
Nice.
Yeah. Well, that's my top 3 are all high budget games. There were definitely a lot of good indies I played this year, but I don't know how any of them would top these 3. So I'll go with my number 3, which is Like a Dragon: Infinite Wealth. I've always kind of liked the Like a Dragon, but I've never loved the games necessarily. Actually, when I played the first Judgment, I actually preferred that because I like the characters in that world a bit better, and I just resonated with that series more. Even though I've enjoyed the older Yakuzas, and I did start the first Like a Dragon when it went to turn based. I played a little bit of it, but I think I ended up falling off. I feel like it takes a long time to kind of get rolling that game.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, so I lost interest kind of early. So it's a game that I'll probably go back to. But Infinite Wealth, man, it had me from the beginning. The battle system is incredible. It's not
the mini games. There's so many mini games. Yeah. Remember all those? Yeah.
And it's funny too because it's not necessarily just a regular turn based either. It's got some strategy elements to it with how you attack, area of attack stuff, and just how close you are to an enemy or how far away, and then with all the job classes, the ridiculous job classes, being a football player or a cowboy or a surfer or
the hula guy with it blowing the fire out. The taxi driver, I think, could do that one. Yeah.
And then the taxi driver's regular attack was to connect a car battery and electrocute people. It was just
yeah, that was great.
It's just so ridiculous, and it was so great.
Yeah.
And so many great side quests and interesting open world, and then the fact that you get to play as
Yeah, Kiryu. Yeah, he was a really fun character in that game too.
Yeah, well, and then when they split, and Kiryu goes back to Japan. Sorry for the spoilers. It's like 6 months old game. Sorry, but at one point there's a split where like 4 party members are in Japan and 4 party members in Hawaii, and it's just it's terrific. Like like the pacing is perfect. Like you get to enjoy the story with those characters, and then you get to go back, and it's just. I loved it, and I felt
it makes me wonder how they're going to top that game, because I feel like they threw the kitchen sink at it with that one. Just so many different things to do, and the fact that you have the 2 different environments as well, they're very fully fleshed out. It's just they kind of that felt like the everything what Like a Dragon, Yakuza games were doing was kind of culminating in this game. So I'm curious what's going to happen.
Just came together perfectly,
Yeah,
great characters, great villain, great story.
Yeah, loved it. That was a great start to the year, actually. That one was very close. It's probably like 4 or 5 for me. I definitely wanted to bring that one up too.
Sorry, I got stuck at the Rumba fight in the first game with the Chabon, so. And it's literally I have to run all the way back to like another the start of the dungeon to get out, because I literally can't. Like it's, I could beat everything else in the dungeon, but not that. And it's like too much of a difference. It's not like I can keep trying. It's like, no, I've got to. So that's one I put down this year. That I just because of one thing. I'm like, no.
Mm-hmm. For my 2, and just so maybe just to avoid some overlap here, but I am going to say Dragon Quest III HD 2D, just because I want to make sure it gets its fair shake. Really, just amazing how much you can do when you're still trying to be faithful to an original game, right? Like it is so much the same experience from years and years ago, these original versions that have been, again, the mobile port, the Game Boy Color remake, the NES or Famicom version, and then this one, like you can see so much of that DNA still here. They recognize, that it was a really good game back then. But yeah, it is aged obviously quite a bit. And there's a lot of systems in there that needed some tweaking to bring them into the 21st century, and they've done that, right? They've made it easy to zoom back and forth, fast traveling around the world. It's very clear, that you're going to get new abilities. Like there's kind of question marks in your skill tree or your skill selection, so like new moves are coming. They've added a new job class. It's pretty fun, and honestly, maybe a little broken, kind of early game, mid game. Some really cool abilities. The fact that they've got like these kind of creatures that you find all around the world and different ways to kind of bring them into your parties that you can go to the Colosseums and fight with them. That's all very, very entertaining. But then it still has all that Dragon Quest DNA that you love. Wherever you've come into the series, a lot of the kind of staples of it started here, right? Like the collecting the mini medals, changing job classes. I guess I don't know where the Colosseum started, but the fact that it comes back here, they did take out the board game aspect of the third game. David, did you encounter the board games in your Game Boy Color version?
Yeah, I've done 2 actually. Yeah,
which are pretty neat. And I guess I don't know why the decision was made to take those out of the remake, so that's unfortunate. But I think there's so much good going on there, and it just looks amazing. I think it is definitely one of the better examples, I should say, of the HD 2D style. I still think Triangle Strategy might have the tops there, or even Octopath Traveler too. But they're continuing to iterate this and work on it, and there's a lot of cool environments to go to as well. But yeah, just total RPG comfort food that understands what it is, that doesn't mess around too much with being a remake, and just tries to kind of maintain the essence of what made the game great. So I think that it deserves a lot of credit for that.
I'm enjoying that we've had 5 games and they've all been different so far, and I'm curious if we're going to go 9 distinct games we're going to see here.
Who knows? Yeah, it will be interesting to see. But as long as they keep selling like 2 million within a week or something, we think of like everyone knows Dragon Quest. Like no, like it's still a traditional turn-based RPG. But if they continue to sell quickly like that, and hopefully have a little bit of a tail, like I think that'll be good enough for them.
Yeah.
It's it's never going to sell like Dragon Quest 11 numbers, because this is different, right? Like it's, pure turn-based, much more of a nostalgia play, whereas like the later entries, they're trying to push the series forward, obviously.
I did think it was
serving different
a
audiences,
little bit higher initially. Like, not that 2 million's bad, but I would think that it was going to be higher.
It's a tough year though, right? Lots of competition this year for RPGs.
There's so many that came out in these last few months.
Yeah, especially the end of the year. Yeah, a lot of good RPGs.
So my number 2 is The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom.
Yay!
Yeah, because it's just the bias of being a game. Just
obviously, come on.
I mean, there are a couple of sections that really annoyed me, like mandatory stealth sections and stuff. One took me quite a while because these guys' cones of visions appeared to be past their head, I swear. But just unfortunately, because someone decided to start charging people for API stuff, Nintendo doesn't have a direct Twitter link anymore. So very few people have shared clips. Only some people, I guess, who do the PC connection or whatever. Like a lot of Japanese people are still sharing clips. Because the stuff you can do is really funny. It's just really cool to be able to go over the trees and not be blocked by the trees, honestly. I just love games that let me explore, really. Like, that's why I've been enjoying Infinity Nikki, and then it's like, oh, this place is cool. I'm like, you've already been here. You've already I was just running yesterday. I liked I didn't mind the combat being out of my control, because I'm so like, I'm a mage basically, and then I found some things eventually which made me be a bit more like I'm shooting electricity or something. And then later game it was like I'm just spamming crows at the final boss and I'm laying in bed. So it's like, it's not too hard. I didn't put it on the hard mode. I probably would recommend it for people who didn't want things to be too breezy, just to start with that. But it's got enough mini games. Like I did the stamp rally. I didn't do all the mini games. It's got like some quests. One of the things was like the automatons come at such a late point in the game. Yeah, you don't really use them. It's like there's still some design elements where it's not entirely thought out right. It's got a simple story. It's cute. It's just a fun little game, and I'm glad that Zelda got a good game to be the protagonist of.
Unlike Princess Peach,
that's a fun game. It's
I understand. I understand why Nintendo removed the Twitter thing. Obviously, was there's a few reasons, financial.
Just how much it costs a month, I guess.
Twitter being a cesspool.
I'm sure financial was the big one there, but at the same time, we kind of lost out on I remember when Breath of the Wild 2 came out, and social media was just flooded with look at all these crazy things, and
there was so much.
It feels like Echoes of Wisdom could have done that too, but like you said, it's so much work to pull like a video or whatever off your Switch without that direct link that people just aren't sharing it like they were before. So it's too bad. Hopefully something, some kind of alternative comes along that
Miiverse 2 coming back. Switch 2 next year.
Maybe.
Bookmark it. Miiverse is back.
So for my number 2, actually I had to look it up to make sure it was released in 2024 because it was early in the year, and I felt like I was late to the game I was late actually, because technically this game came out February 1st and I didn't play it till the summer. But my number 2 is Persona 3 Reload. Such a good game. I had played, I would say 50 to 75% of the first Persona, or like or Persona 3 Portable, I guess I'll say. I had started it up twice. The first time I got about a quarter of the way in. The second time I got about half the way in ish, and just kind of fell off for various reasons. And but no, with Reload, having that more immersive feeling, it's clearly using its Persona 5, engine or whatever, in the sense of they wanted to remake the game to kind of look in that vein. To pick up on the popularity of 5, kind of feed off that or whatever. And I still think it keeps enough of its original charm and distinctiveness that it's terrific. Like it's a really good game. Like I would, having played both versions, I would say go with Reload. It's terrific.
But you can't be girl, so.
Yeah, that I know
that is a problem.
That is a problem. It's too bad, like, because I know when it first came out that was the biggest criticism of the game was that you couldn't play as the girl option, and I wish they had added that, because
Persona 3 and none of them are definitive.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Isn't that so funny, right? So many versions. Buy them all to get the full picture. I don't know.
But
it does sound like a really good remake. Other than that, unfortunate, decision to just have the one protagonist. But in terms of the look and playability, it does feel, right up there with any of the games in the series.
Yeah. I'm thinking. I know what your number one's going to be, and maybe Paige and I should go get a Pepsi or something from the fridge while you.
I'll need a whole other episode for this. If you just want to start the recording again from the beginning, I'll take an hour.
I'm going to fall asleep. If you want to just
come back tomorrow.
If that's the one we're thinking of, then you can't say something you haven't beaten is your best game of the year yet. That's against the rules.
I was ready to say it after the 10-hour mark, the 20-hour, the 30-hour. Nothing's changed here, so. Yeah, without further ado, because I don't want to step on David's toes. I think we all know what he's going to say too.
My blood's definitely not boiling at this moment.
And again, Metaphor isn't my game of the year necessarily. Hey, I'm giving you guys what you want. But I think that it's definitely in the running. I'm going to try to get back to Rebirth by the end of the year as well. Now that I know that I'm close to the end of Metaphor, I'm going to have time for that, fortunately. But in a year filled with really incredible RPGs, like we've had some good years before. This is one of the best in the last decade that I can remember, honestly. Just month after month of very, very compelling experiences. Metaphor being one that I kind of skipped at launch and then saw this critical praise and then saw some divisiveness away from that later on the last few weeks, especially. And then just kind of like, okay, am I actually going to enjoy this? Where's my opinion gonna lay? And then, to just be like, I'm right there with the folks who have loved this game. I love it too. I think that the things that I look for in RPGs, I think Metaphor is doing really well. I don't need the most compelling story. I don't need the dialogue to be the sharpest, but I do want the combat to be good, and I do want the progression systems to matter and to be fun. I like, their archetypes are obviously a very strong system, but I love looking at that. It looks like a skill tree almost, right? These branches just popping off of like what characters could be. Seeing that potential kind of realized visually is just very fun. I like it has all that like Atlas, Persona, visual flair style to it. I remember when we first played Persona 5 and we're like, oh, this game is so stylish. It's so neat to look at. I have a lot of the same feelings with Metaphor too, like that just in a fantasy setting, obviously. I don't think it's perfect by any means. There are some elements of it that I have been misses for me, but the hits are so strong and they have kept coming, even in the second half of the game, that it's easily in my top 3, and definitely in the running for number 1 for me.
Cool. I can't say I agree, but I respect the list.
If nothing else, there's always love and respect
at
the Thirsty Mage podcast. Almost always. except for when it comes to Octopath Traveler or Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition.
and just any mobile game in general.
Yeah, exactly. Even Pokemon.
We do have our lines we can't cross.
That's right.
Yeah. All right, Paige, what's your number 1 for the year?
Game of the year, Astrobot.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's just fun.
So you agree with the folks over at the Game Awards, whoever was making those votes, those decisions?
Yep.
You agree with them?
It's just fun. It's like one reviewer said, I remember what happiness feels like.
And now I will say,
the second you stop playing, you finish the game.
I haven't played it. I do want to play it.
I want to play it too. Yeah. I can't wait.
So I can't.
That's
I can't
why I don't want to overhype
it
like too much because it's like, well, then your expectations are just going to be crazy. But like, so that's one thing. I'm glad some of these certain abilities you get weren't spoiled for me, because like some are only for like one level, and if I knew about that, it'd be just, more to the point where I was like, oh, this is so cool. It's just fun. It's just plain good fun, really. That's the main thing.
So my expectation is that it's basically
video games should be.
A longer version of Astro's Playroom. That's my expectation.
Yes, it like I think some of the boss fights, they've just reused the bosses from that game.
Oh, okay.
That's funny.
So I don't play that one because I don't use VR, but yeah, it's just more of that, more ideas, more, yeah.
So the only other thing I'll ask is that is there the one thing about the Playroom that I found the most interesting was just how much they use the DualSense. The DualSense controller was just used in such a good way. I'm hoping that's the case for this.
Yeah, that's true. Sorry, I meant not Playroom. I meant the VR. His original game. Apparently, a lot of the stuff from the original game is just in the bosses. And
stuff.
That's right. It was a VR game to begin with. Yeah,
but it is also PSVR. A lot like Playroom. The costume, the bots, they were more costumed up. The special ones, the VIP bots, I call them. And DualSense, plenty of that. Like the feedback, the rumble, the like sounds, plenty of that. It's still a very look how cool the PS5 is game, which is funny. But there's a lot of fun level designs, and it's just a really good time, and that's what you want from games sometimes. I mean, some people really like to play. Like one of our best games last year was something that could be not fun to play because of just the way the meta narrative worked, was to make you feel like the main character and stuff. But some people like some competitive games or or things that are meant to be hard. But sometimes it's good just to have fun, consistent fun the whole time.
Taking it back to the roots of video games, right? Like that's where it started.
Well, we've been doing this podcast 6. Well, we're in there. We're 6 going on 7 years here.
I can't believe that. Like that's
insane. Eh? And right? I don't think we've ever in the history of the podcast had a top 3 list where we never overlapped a single game.
Well, we'll have to find Casey's list since he doesn't love us, and we'll wait.
Yeah, I see. That's the thing is, I know Casey and mine's going to overlap because we both agree, and I feel confident in speaking for Casey in this case that my number 1 game this year is not only the game of the year; it's the game of all time. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Shadow of the Earthtree. Oh no, okay.
Monkey Ball, but I don't know what the new one's called. They're all banana something. I can't.
Katamari.
Banana Blitz. Yeah, yeah, that's right.
No, it was. I remember. It's funny. I remember playing Remake, and I think my first visceral reaction after Remake was a little annoyed at how much of the changes there were. Like I wasn't quite on board at the time with the new direction, and I eventually got over that. Like I played Intermission, and I replayed Remake, and then I kind of like got it. I guess would be the thing. I eventually came around. But Rebirth, from the second, like from the first moments in the game until the very end, I was glued to that television. It was like the greatest 80 or so hours of video game playing that I like of anything. Like it's just incredible to be in your 40s, and then I've had all of these terrific experiences throughout my life, but Rebirth is the game that beats them all. It's incredible.
Yeah. The way you described Remake, and then to be like, oh, wasn't fully on board, and then Rebirth, bam, that sounds a lot like your Octopath 1 and 2 experience.
It is, actually,
doesn't it?
Yeah.
Right. Well, we're like Octopath 2. You got it right away.
Yes.
Like you were like, no, look how good this is.
Yeah.
And I'm in the background like, there's a lot of like Octopath 1 here.
Yeah.
Like it's just so funny, right? Like,
well, the big thing about 2 is that the characters talk to each other and they made eye contact.
I know. And I know what matter. I know it can matter in a game like that. That's fair. But yeah, not to detract from Rebirth. Obviously, an incredible experience. And the fact, I think, what really is a testament to it being Game of the Year for you, David, is just how easily it was for you and Casey, and I was probably on one of those episodes, 1 or 2 as well, maybe Paige. You could just go. You could keep talking about the game. You felt compelled to do impressions of every area of the game, basically. Like you wanted everybody out there listening to be part of that journey with you, right? Like that meant a lot to you, that you could share kind of every moment of the game with our audience. So I think that's never happened before. When have we ever done a
It's
huge
like 8 episodes.
multi-part, right? Like multi-part episode series on something, and we may never do that again, at least until part 3 comes out. Right. But I think that says a lot about just how much this game connected with you.
Yeah. And I know, and it's funny just to go on like the we're all having different games. I know Casey's number 2 was Vengeance, SMT5 Vengeance. So
yeah. And did he not play? He didn't play SMT5 the base.
He played the base.
Game, did he?
I think he said he went like 10 to 15 hours into it. I think he said.
Right. That's so funny for the changes, I guess, really to resonate with him, or maybe for whatever reason he fell off the first one or didn't have time to finish it. Maybe the changes in the new version. Sometimes just playing something on a new platform can make all the difference. That's true too,
because he played it on the Steam Deck on his OLED and he loved it. Maybe there was just more Miedema in this one. I still laugh at at the whole Miedema fiasco from the first game.
That's right. Yep. That's right. Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's good. It's been a really great year for games, and it'll be fun the next couple of weeks to just start. Now we can start looking forward, I guess, to what's coming. Right. So.
Trails in the Sky. That's my the remake.
Yeah,
that's my most anticipated.
That's gonna be a good one.
So that's your most anticipated for next year. What's Jordan's? One. Just one.
Just one is tough. Just off the top of my head, Daybreak 2. Very excited for that game. Having seen a little bit of it at PAX, and just knowing how fun Daybreak was. Trails for Daybreak, that is. I think the sequel should be really good too. So I'll say that without thinking too much, but I think there's other games.
Mine most anticipated game for next year is Clair Obscur Expedition 33.
Oh yeah,
that one does look cool.
Looks cool.
Look neat. I wonder if it'll make it for next year.
Yeah.
It seems pretty ambitious.
I know. I wasn't expecting next year when they first showed it off, because usually those teasers are like, all right, see you in 3 years.
Yeah, especially like new IP and all that stuff too. I could see them giving it more time. But that game does look really cool.
Good. They got an amazing voice actor cast too.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll call it here, because I do want to talk. I want to talk more 2025. We got to do predictions and stuff too in the next couple of weeks as well. So maybe we'll save more next year discussion for one of our next episodes here.
Yeah, sounds good.
But let's call it here. Thanks everybody for listening to kind of a year in review type episode, right? Giving us a chance to share some of the highlights and lowlights of 2024. I think obviously a lot more highlights than the alternative, which was great. But we'd love to hear, what were the games that really grabbed you? What really stood out to you, or what were your biggest surprises this year? Let us know. Join the Discord. Always happy to see new folks there, and it is a really, really great community that I am trying to participate in more, just because I feel that like positivity. I see all the friendships kind of just cultivated there, and I want to be part of that. So hopefully you will too. But yeah, you can also reach out to David at thethirstymage.com by email. Let us know if you've got episode ideas in mind for next year. Hoping to get a Steam Deck soon, because we talked about doing Dragon Age Origins. Let's go. Yeah. I really want to do that for 2025. That might be one of my most anticipated
It's December 14th in the Eastern time zone. Maybe
I'm going to check. I'm going to check.
Yeah. Get your GST rebate.
You sent me the refurbished OLEDs, and I almost pulled the trigger, and then of course they went out of stock as well. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just get a new one. But yeah, I was waiting for that tax break thing. So we'll check on that. But yeah, thanks again, everybody, for joining us. Hopefully see you in the Discord soon. If you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast on your podcast app. Leave us a review, all that great stuff. And we'll talk to you again next week on The Thirsty Mage. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.